you are. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Has this thing started already?
Yes, it's on live. Everybody's saying welcome and greetings to you in the comments.
Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm well. Thank you. Thank
That's
you.
good. That's
Thanks
good.
for the introduction.
Anytime, brother culture. Definite blessings for real. You know, we were just playing a big tune by you called Battlefield. What a tune that is, first of all. Wow.
Yeah, it's from my
Definitely.
new album. It's from
Yeah.
my album called 12 Lights. I just
Okay.
released in April or
Wow.
something around then.
Wow. Wow. You know what? Let's talk about you first. Let's get into know brother culture. Tell us who is brother culture and kind of how this journey began for you.
My real name is Simon Fijemison,
Yeah.
and I was born in London. My father was from Nigeria. My mother
Okay.
was from Ireland,
Mm.
and I went to school in Nigeria. And then
Okay.
around 1978, 79, I came back to England, and some of my sisters, I've got five older sisters,
Okay.
and
Wow.
they were involved in like Rastafari movements and the music. And one of my sisters was an MC. Her name was Sister Culture,
Yeah.
and she used to MC for a sound called Jar Revelation. So I kind of, and it was my sisters really that kind of introduced me to reggae music and sound systems. And
Okay.
I started emceeing. I started emceeing around Lewisham and
Mm.
Catford
Wow.
on a sound called Young Enchanter, another sound called Papa Chana.
Mm.
And when I turned about 17, I progressed towards Jar Revelation, mainly because of my sister.
Yeah.
And I started to MC on Jar Revelation.
Okay.
And then in Brixton, generally on sounds of the time, like Sir Coxon, Taurus, not so much Frontline.
Yeah.
And pretty much was the story of Brother Culture was pretty much 12 tribes of Israel from
Okay.
about 82 to about 92. And
Mm.
then around 92, sort of transition happened in 12 tribes.
Okay.
And I stopped for one reason or another from emceeing on Jar Revelation.
Yeah.
And that was when the kind of second part of my journey began.
Mm.
I mean, lots of things happened in between then, but that's
Yeah.
a kind of condensed history.
For real.
Yeah.
Wow. And so when was that kind of moment for you, or the first time you thought, you know what, I'm a good MC, or a great MC, should I say? I can now take this to a sound, take this to an audience. Was there ever that time, or was you just kind of pushed into it?
No, I don't really think in those terms. Right?
Okay.
I wouldn't call myself a great MC now. Do you know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
It was the main kind of inspiration
Mm.
was because when I was a younger teenager, like
Yeah.
13, 14,
Mm.
15, 16, I started to collect music and buy music, buy
Yeah.
records. I tended to buy a lot of MC records because I loved MCs like Lone Ranger,
Mm.
Brigadier Jerry,
Yeah.
um, and then later on people like Peter Metro,
Mm.
um, Charlie Chaplin and Josie Wells, Brigadier Jerry,
Yeah.
any type of MC like that I was kind of into. Clint
Okay.
Eastwood and General Saint were a big influence on me.
Mm.
And then my sister was kind of like an established MC on
Yeah.
Jar Revelation.
Okay.
So I didn't sit down and pick a name or anything like that. I basically was called Brother Culture because when I
Yeah.
came from school and I started to go to dances,
Mm.
people would say special request to Sister Culture's brother. And
Okay.
it just kind of became Brother Culture,
Mm.
you know.
Yeah.
But I had a feeling that I should be singing in front of an audience from when I was quite young. When I was, I used to have like a kind of reoccurring
Mm.
dream where I'd always see myself in front of an audience, but wouldn't know what to say.
Yeah.
And and then it was kind of like a natural progression when I started to really penetrate the teachings of Rastafari
Mm.
around 82, 83, and I linked a lot of my MCing to the 12 tribe movement at that
Yeah.
time. So yeah, it was more like not bigging up myself, but you know, I felt like I was doing God's work, and
Mm.
part of God's work was to gather the people, and I MC with a message.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the thrust
Mm.
then and now. Really, it's not. I'm not really into all this kind of, you know, I'm the best or I'm talented or anything. You know, I'm just a gatekeeper.
Mm.
You know, I'm a cleaner. If it comes to it, I'm a cleaner in the house of God. You know what I mean? I'm quite happy with that.
Yeah, definitely. You know what? Lots of people are saying that you are a great MC. There's a lady here called Kailia. I think I'm saying your name right. She's saying that you played in France and it was really good with you.
Mm. Yeah, you know, people, it's good. I give thanks if
Yeah,
people enjoy it, you know, because for me, music is like a tower with a
yeah.
flickering light, and it
Mm.
guides people in. And I know, you know, I've MC'd all over the world. I've MC'd to many different people,
Mm.
and so, but really, the 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 real pleasure in the music is when people enjoy it. Simple as
Yeah.
that, you know. So it's like I've never been somebody that makes records knowing who's going to like it. I've never targeted
Yeah.
any of my records. You know, people tend to interpret what they want. Well,
Mm.
I'm actually very different in reality than I am in my records. In my records, it's a piece of art. It's an art form. It's like a kind of inspiration, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, you know, as I said, I give thanks if people enjoy the music, because that's really what it's about. You know.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, I wanted to ask you because I know you said that you are a beacon for music and you're a messenger for music, but I wanted to know what has been the biggest difference? You know, you've been doing music from 70s, 80s, and then music now. Has there been a massive difference and has it impacted the music kind of industry for yourself?
Well, you see, the thing is, I didn't start to MC until '82.
Okay.
Yes, I'm not that old. DJKat. Yeah, well, I've seen the whole kind of advancement of MCing, and
Yeah,
it, you know, even MCing led to the garage scene and elements of the house scene.
yeah.
Now MCing is like kind of mainstream.
Mm.
Um, I don't really see much difference, you know. My age lets me see continuity, you
Okay.
know, because I remember when I was like 16, 17,
Mm.
the type of reggae that I was into at that age was probably much different to the Studio One era, which was about a decade before my time.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was familiar with a lot of Studio One because Jar Revelation used to play a lot of Studio One.
Yeah.
And I used to, a lot of my early MCing, I cut my teeth on Studio One instrumentals, you know what I mean?
Mm. For
But
real.
I don't really see much difference in it because I see the youths nowadays and they've got their interpretation of
Mm.
MC.
Okay.
And if you know enough about MC, like
Mm.
I do, you can
Yeah.
recognize the DNA of early MCs like me.
Mm.
Um, you can definitely recognize it, you know? But I tend to see music as music. You know? I don't put music in categories. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
For real. For
And
real.
I just give thanks that at the age of 56, I'm still, you know, partially relevant. You know,
Yeah.
because you know, the thought of sort of being an old rocker kind of thing, you know, singing to your own age group is unbearable.
Yeah. For
So it's
real.
good. It's good that there's a lot of young white youths
Mm.
that weren't around because when I was a youth man
Yeah.
going to sound system dances, it was mostly attended by black people.
Mm.
You would see white people, but not like now, not whole festivals, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that generation tend to be more into the roots rockers
Okay.
era.
Mm.
But black youths in London tend not to because they see that as their parents' music.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? And the
Yeah.
white youths, they are not into Pink Floyd. They you know, they're into Prince Fari, Lee
Mm.
Perry. You know, you go to a Lee Perry concert and you see a lot of young people, man, like, you know, totally into what Perry's doing.
Yeah.
And, you know, Perry's in his 80s, you know, and
Yeah.
he's also a Benjamin of the tribe of Benjamin, like me, you know. So,
Yeah.
yeah, man.
For real. Well, I'm a tribe of Aisha, so you know.
Yeah.
Ready, we're
Listen,
ready. So, yeah,
burden bearer, the burden bearer, you know.
for real. And you know, when we're speaking of MCing, you know, a lot of people will associate nowadays with things like drill, grime. What's your thoughts about it? Because that kind of genre seems to get a lot of bad kind of press. But I wanted to know, as an MC, what do you think about it?
Yeah, but it's different. It's a different kind of stratosphere. Do you know what I mean? It's a different dimension in that, you know,
Yeah,
like hip hop and grime or whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because my audience is, I haven't really got a mainstream audience. You know, I've done a few mainstream things like with bands like The Prodigy and
mm,
where I've been an add-on, but I've
yeah,
never actually had a main. So I'm more of an underground artist, and people that are into brother culture tend to be into the scene as well.
yeah,
And because I'm a bit unusual amongst the sort of crop of MCs of my era,
mm,
I'm a little bit unusual in as much as I like to always do what no, I don't really follow what the trends are. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I try and
definitely.
I try and set trend. You know.
Yeah,
And I think I've done that in some respects, especially with my work with Manasseh over the years,
mm,
people like Adrian Sherwood and Mad Professor. I can't have to mention Mad Professor.
yeah,
Um, and nowadays, I mean, I'm linked with a label called Evidence now in
okay,
Geneva, which is the label that I release all of my material with. And
mm,
I've been with that label since its beginning.
yeah,
And for the first time in my career, really, I've got like a really good relationship with the label. And now is like a new era.
mm,
And I kind of feel like the time might be coming, you know? So
yeah,
I don't know if that answers your question, but
yeah,
I
man,
don't really listen to much MC and I don't really know what's going on in the younger scene, really. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like for me, if you're going to ask me about hip hop, I'm still listening to Public Enemy and do you know what I mean?
that's so
I'm kind
good.
of old school. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm old school in that respects. But in
mm,
a way, I like it because it means that my music kind of stays pure in a way because I'm not really influenced by what's going on in Jamaica. I'm definitely not influenced about what's going on in the UK root scene or
mm,
dub scene,
yeah,
which I find a lot of the singers and MCs on the scene nowadays is all a bit cliche. You know?
mm,
I
yeah,
don't like to be put into boxes or make statements that I can't back up
yeah,
or use the Bible to attack people and stuff like that.
mm,
It's not really my scene, you know.
yeah,
So yeah, so any great young MCs that I see coming through
mm,
on the commercial tip,
yeah,
um, you know, I'm into it. Like my son, my oldest son, Hezekiah, is a grime MC,
okay,
and he's got some really good material that he's been sharing with me recently,
mm,
and you know, I can definitely see that there's an art form behind it, you know?
yeah, definitely. So when you're listening to your son's work and he's kind of, I suppose, asking for your feedback or listening, what do you kind of say to him? Do you say that's good, or do you say, I don't like that? How does it kind of work?
No, I generally like all the stuff he makes, you know.
That's good.
The more unlike me it
Hmm.
sounds, you know, the better. Because, but you know, it's funny because he does sound like me a little bit. You know what I mean? I suppose it's natural, but
Yeah.
I'm not really. I like it's very. What he does is very independent. He
Hmm.
does it himself, sort of influence it. We have
Yeah.
been talking recently about linking them up with Evidence
Mm.
because Evidence Music puts out grime, Afrobeat, dancehall, and roots.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's definitely in the pipeline. You know what I mean? It's like it
Mm.
would be a great pleasure for me to see Hezekiah, you know,
Yeah,
make
man.
some tune.
Yeah. Maybe.
So
Maybe.
I normally just encourage whatever he's doing. You know, I don't tell
Mm.
him whether I like it or not. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think music is like that. You know?
Yeah. For real. And you know, I can. I don't know. I feel like there's gonna be some sort of duo with you two. I don't know.
Uh,
Maybe.
Anything's possible. You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Definitely.
it's not in the pipeline at the moment. But
Yeah. I could. I don't know. I've got
yeah.
this feeling that something's gonna happen, and you two are gonna come together, and we're gonna see roots kind of vibe. I just feel it. I don't know. People put some fire in the comments if you're feeling that as well. So you know what? I wanted to know when the drum and bass genre came out and you kind of you grew up with that genre kind of, how did you change your lyrics, or did you change your lyrics and kind of evolve with that time?
I didn't really. I
Okay.
didn't. The whole drum and bass thing kind of passed me by, really, to be honest. You know, because I'm very insular. I
Mm,
don't really mix a lot with people, and I don't really go. I'm not a regular at the scenes and whatever.
yeah.
And a lot of reggae MCs did switch to drum and bass, but I didn't. Drum and bass kind of found me later down the line. And
Okay.
I've done a few drum and bass collaborations with people like Rob Smith and uh, Liquid Stranger, from all these kind of people that kind of met over the years, but they don't really mean anything to me. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I don't hold them. And drum and bass, jungle, yeah, you know, I'll dabble in it, but I wouldn't say, you know, it's my thing.
Yeah.
But I'm you know, I'm a proficient drum and bass MC. I've done big drum and bass gigs before,
Mm,
because my style of MC never really changes, so it can be adapted to any music, because I'm essentially a tempo MC.
yeah.
So I only need a tempo. And but even in saying that, it's not completely true either, because I've just completed an album with the Dub Heart Band, and it's more of like songs and, you know, live band. That album will be coming out on Evidence as well.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah, you know, I big up everybody that make music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not somebody that holds snobbish views about music. Do you know what I mean?
For real. You know what? I was about to ask you that because it seems like you're very kind of pure with your music and, kind of stick on your lane, your level. What, how do you kind of decide then, okay, I'm gonna do a collab with this artist, or I'm gonna link up with this person, or do you know them beforehand? How does it kind of work?
I don't really do many collaborations, to be honest.
Mm,
I have done recently. I've been doing quite a lot, but that's more through the label, you
okay.
know. But I don't. No, I don't really have much. It doesn't really happen like that with me. Like, for example, I made a tune recently with Zaina Romeo. She's the daughter of Max Romeo,
Yeah.
and a singer called Danja.
Mm,
And it came about through the label and through the inspiration of a guy called Little Lion, who owns one of the founders of Evidence Music,
yeah.
and he helps to direct me.
Mm,
But generally, when I was younger, I didn't really like collaborating with people. Do you know
mm,
what I mean? Because I don't know. I've got a strange kind of style. But nowadays, as I'm getting older, it's things have started to develop. You know.
mm.
Mm.
Yeah, man, for real. And is there anybody that's kind of, I know what you're saying about, the music and so on, but is there anybody that's kind of catching your eye where you're saying, you know what, I would like to do something in the future with them, or I'm liking how they sound? Is there anybody out there that's kind of catching your eye?
There's a singer from Switzerland called Danista,
Okay.
who I'm doing some work with.
Mm,
There's a singer called Olinka in
mm.
Mexico that
Wow.
I'm doing some collaborations with.
Mm,
And I just made a remake, a reinterpretation of Supernova, which is one of my biggest hits.
yeah.
I made it with a Slovakian singer who
Okay.
I met about 10 years ago in a festival in Spain. Actually, I
Mm,
was doing a festival, it was me and Ragga Twins.
yeah.
And she came on stage and asked me for the mic, and I gave her the mic, and that was about it, really. And then we linked up recently, and now she's like quite a successful commercial singer in Slovakia.
Yeah.
I've made an interpretation of Supernova, which we and the label are kind of aiming at the mainstream market. It's more in the mood of like Major Lazer, or,
Mm,
you know, and kind of just being a bit more experimental and freer with
yeah.
my singing. You know,
Mm,
not so much lyrics, but with the voice as well.
yeah. For real. But, when it comes to your lyrics and, putting your rhythms together, how does that work? Because, like I said, we just listened to Battlefield. That's just one song, Supernova. There's so many great kind of content that you keep putting out. And I wanted to know,
Well,
where does that lyrical content come from?
no, it depends on what producer I'm working with and what the requirement was. Do you know what I mean? Like when I was in 12 Tribes,
Yeah.
one of the things that I kind of introduced to 12 Tribes, it never used to happen before I come, is that I was the first person in the London house of 12 Tribe to bring to write lyrics and bring them to the sound system rehearsal. We used to, Our Revelation used to rehearse every Wednesday in Brixton,
Yeah.
in MC Trooper's house.
Okay.
And at that time, MC Trooper was the selector of Jar Revelation. And then I didn't start recording until much later down, kind of at the end of the, more or less sort of beginning or middle to the end of the 90s, when my kind of recording career started. And my early part, like my first album was with Mongo's Hi-Fi.
Yeah.
That was called Mongo's Hi-Fi Meets Brother Culture. And most of those lyrics were lyrics that I used to use when I was in 12 Tribes.
Okay.
But as the years passed on, I used up most of the lyrics and I started writing new stuff. Like the album that Supernova came from, because that album was produced by Nick Manassa.
Yeah.
And by then my writing had kind of changed, because by then I was writing kind of specific things and they weren't all based in 12 Tribe. You know, I'd become a lot more open-minded at that time through various experiences, you know.
Yeah.
And I felt like I could express myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, my lyrics just come whenever they come into my mind, really. I'm not really someone that sits down and thinks about what I'm going to write, you know. It just kind of comes. Recently, to be honest, I don't even write anymore. Like the last album, 12 Lights album, I wrote all of the lyrics on the spot. You know, do you know what I mean? As I was going along, because I find it's kind of easier. I'm kind of lazy nowadays, you know.
For real. Well, let's talk about this album, because this album, first of all, is fire. People go and check out this album. Tell the listeners kind of how you come up with the title of this album and a little bit about it, how it kind of come together.
Well, it's a follow-up to the last album I put out with Evidence.
Okay.
Which was called, I can't even remember the name of my own album. But yeah, I'm supposed to, it was an idea that I would make 3 albums with Evidence, and I wanted them all to be on a kind of roots dub tip, like stuff that would play, not so much stuff like Supernova that's a bit crossover. I wanted, like, you know, sort of heavy duty sound system tunes.
Yeah.
And the first album that I put out 2 years ago, kind of that was a Jump Up on it, and all these kind of songs on it, and Dreadlocks Team.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so this new one, 12 Lights, was like a kind of follow up to that. Okay. And I wanted to, I wasn't sure whether to change the formula, because the formula with the album before was good. It worked, you know. I got a few hits out of it, and the album done well. So we stuck to the formula, and it seems to be doing well. The 12 Lights seems to be doing well, you know. And the artwork was done by a very good friend of mine from Italy who was living in London. Yeah. It's a very personal album, because I've got a lot of freedom with Evidence music. You know, it's like they trust me a lot when it comes to my judgment, stuff like that. So that's more or less it, really. You know.
Wow. So why 12 Lights? What's the meaning behind that?
12 Lights of the universe.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah. Wow.
There's 12 hands on the clock, and there's a lot of spiritual things that happen under the mantle of 12. You know, and I got an inspiration that 12 represents light. Yeah. And 12 powers of man, 12 powers of woman, 12 powers of the mind. You know, 12 moons, 12 horizons, 12 suns. It just made sense. Yeah. So that's it, really. 12.
Wow. You say that's it, really, but that's really quite a deep meaning. It's quite a powerful meaning as well.
Well, 12 is the number that is, everything in life is ruled by mathematics, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
12 is a very important number. There's a lot of people out there that will understand exactly what I'm talking about, you know, without me having to
Yeah.
kind of explain it, because sometimes they have to just explain it for themselves,
Mm.
you know.
Yeah.
Because asking what, it hasn't got a specific meaning.
Mm.
It was just an inspiration that came to me.
Yeah.
And I built that track with a guy called Derek Sound, who's another one of the founders of Evidence Music.
Mm.
And me and Derek always make unusual songs. Like we made Dreadlock Sting together, New Generation, and now this track, the 12 Lights.
Yeah.
And the singer singing the background, singing the harmony with me is Danista.
Okay.
And she's a Grammy Award singer in Switzerland who's just recently been signed to Island Records.
Mm.
And she just happened to be in the studio that day, and we're friends.
Yeah.
So she came and done that for me.
Wow.
So that's just how it came around, man. You know what I mean? It's just like an orthodox thing,
Definitely. And one thing I'm liking and when I'm listening to you is you're like, this person's from Mexico, this person's from Italy, Switzerland. It's like a whole kind of family that you've kind of created, or that come to you, should I say?
I didn't create them. No, it's not me creating anybody. It's just because I travel a lot. You know what I mean? And I've traveled a lot as an MC. So and doing tours all over the world and staying in countries, and you tend to build up contacts. And yeah, you're right. It's like it's a one dub family.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's
all a we. Let's see
it. Definitely.
It's a big tune.
Yeah, for real. And with saying that, and we got this album, and we're slowly sort of kind of coming out of lockdown. What's next from Brother Culture? Because there's so much that you've putting out there. But what's next at the moment? I've
got a live album coming out with Dub Heart, a band from Bournemouth called Dub Heart, and that's in kind of post production now. It's going to be released on Evidence. Then I've got a follow-up album to 12 Lights. It's going to be Brother Culture and Friends, and it's literally going to be an album of collaborations.
Yeah,
which I'm working on. I'm actually doing that at the moment, and that will be released on Evidence. And that's basically what I've got in the pipeline.
Okay, definitely. And you know what? If there's young people locked in right now, and they want to get into being an MC or dub or anything like that, what kind of advice would you give them?
What kind of advice would I give them? It depends. It depends what how they want to approach the thing, and you have to. I don't know if it's so easy to become an MC. Yeah. I think you kind of have to have a kind of spark that you're an MC. Regardless of what.
Yeah.
Because like even as you said, even during the pandemic, some of us didn't get many gigs for the past year, and that's kind of staple for us. So we have to do other things.
Yeah.
But still remain an MC. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the only advice I've got for people in that situation is start to record and be professional.
Yeah.
You should be professional with what you do.
Yeah.
And pay attention to the business side of things as well. You've got to pay attention to the business side of things and not get carried away, because you end up with people making money out of you, and you're left, in a desperate situation. So be professional, I would say. Yeah.
Wow. You know what? People are here saying always read the small print. That seems to be.
Yeah. You have to get a good lawyer. That's what you need to do.
You know what though, Brother Culture, you're not the first artist to say that. It seems like the music business side of things sometimes seems to be a bit, I'm gonna say a bit awful. That's how it sounds. It sounds sometimes like it's a bit like a devil, and you've got to know exactly what's going on and what's happening.
It's just a matter of you have to know what someone's intention is when you enter into like a kind of music vibes with them. Do you know what I mean? And like for a lot of my career, I worked with a lot of people that I got to find out that it's their own interests really that they're dealing with. They're not really dealing with me for my interests. And it kind of taught me a lot of lessons. You know, it took a long time to learn, because when you're, you know, when you're hungry for something to succeed, you tend to cut corners when it comes to certain things, because a lot of the music that I make is all based on trust.
Yeah.
And then you find out that the trust is not as the trust is not two-way sometimes. You know what I mean?
For real.
So yeah, you just have to be wise and protect your stuff. And as I said, be professional.
Yeah.
It's the only advice I can give you.
Yeah, for real. No, that's you know what, that's probably the best advice that you can give. And you know, I don't know if you've heard, but there's lots of different talks around responsibility of artists and kind of what they put out there and the kind of content they put out. And I wanted to know your opinion, like, what's your responsibility as an artist?
I don't know about anything about no responsibility. You know what I mean? It's like it's not really relevant to me. Do you know what I mean? What does that mean? Responsible for what? You know?
Yeah.
You're responsible for your own actions. That's about the only thing you can be responsible for. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not into no responsibility thing, you know?
Well,
I make music. If somebody want to buy my record, they buy my record. If they don't, they don't. If someone want to book me, they book me. If they don't, they can either love me or hate me. You know, in this life, you're gonna have to have people that hate you as well.
Yeah.
And then you know the ones that love you. So I don't really care about stuff like that, to be honest.
Yeah. And the reason why I ask is because, you know, there are lots of different discussions around it, and they're saying like basically artists, musicians, so on and so forth, they kind of have like a role model. Even sometimes if you don't ask for that kind of role, you get that anyway, because people are looking up. Just for example, people who look up to yourself, they might say, you know what, Brother Culture's doing this, doing that, so that's what I want to do. Just for example. That's why
I'm not a role model. I told you at the beginning of the interview that you know, my art is not necessarily the way I live my life. Do you know what I mean? I don't put myself up as any, because to me that's more or less putting up yourself, you know, like you have something over people. I don't.
Yeah.
If someone interprets something good out of my music, then I give thanks. Yeah.
Definitely.
As for people following, no, they must follow their own instincts, you know. Like even in anything, in religion and anything, if they want to know, they have to go and read the Bible for themselves, for example. Yeah.
For real.
Get the understanding for themselves. Yeah. So no, I'm not into no kind of role model or responsibility thing at all.
For real.
You know, stay far from it.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, do you ever get nervous, Brother Culture, from the first day you hit the stage to this? Well, hopefully we'll get back on the stages, but when you perform in front of people, do you ever get nervous?
Well, you know, again, it depends on the circumstance, isn't it? You know what I mean? Because some shows are more routine, I suppose. But yeah, I suppose you do have to get kind of nervous. You know what I mean? There's a kind of good nervous energy.
Yeah.
But nervous, what do you mean? Like somebody's going to come and try and do me something, or
nah?
Just
you know, when like I get it sometimes when I'm about to go and DJ. You know, you kind of get that feeling in your stomach, feel nervous, and then when you hit the stage, that's it. It kind of goes, but before you get on the stage, you get that feeling in your belly, get a little bit kind of
I think it's more of a you know, there's like a scientific explanation for that. It's like a sort of rush of adrenaline.
Yeah.
That probably gives you the sensation of your nerves. But as you said, once you go out and you kind of use that energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, I get that. I get that quite a lot, you know, especially big shows, or, you know, something where people are expecting a lot, you know, and you might not particularly feel well that day, or, you know, you could have been on tour. You're doing like your 5th or 6th show in a row. Wow. And the fun, you know, it's more fun to go to bed.
Yeah.
In that situation, you get some rest. But nervous nowadays, no, not as an artist. I'm not nervous about my persona. I'm not nervous about being famous. I'm not nervous that I haven't achieved anything. You know, I just kind of, no. But I do get like a kind of nervous anticipation
Yeah, for real.
So yeah, it's a big
Wow.
occasion.
Yeah,
You have
man.
to perform and
Mm.
whatever. Yeah? Mm.
For real. You kind of touched on a point there where you kind of said about, kind of more attractive really to go to bed than kind of, the shows and stuff. And lots of times we only see the kind of finished product, the end product. And I know that
Mm.
artists put so much work in, especially on the stage, touring and so on. And I wanted to know kind of your experiences of touring and things like that and kind of what you had to do and go through.
Yes, touring is touring. If you're really doing like I was like kind of really doing the circuit for a while and
Yeah.
going to different countries every week. It was just routine. Sometimes I'd go to 3 different countries in one weekend. I could be in Ukraine, Germany, and Norway all in one weekend, which I actually did one time with my professor.
Wow.
Um, and you learn that, you know, the going out partying and whatever is great, but it gets to a stage where you kind of value sleep and rest more, because I remember when I toured in China
Yeah.
for the second time, and I'd done 10 shows in a row.
Mm.
And for me, that was quite a lot, and they were quite hardcore shows because
Wow.
I was doing full-on brother culture set for 2 hours.
Wow.
And that was really tough because you had to sleep, and we weren't getting much sleep either because the shows in China are all very far apart and you have to take an aeroplane to each event.
Mm. Wow.
So yeah, so I learned that you have to keep yourself healthy,
Mm.
and that's much more important to me now than it used to be when I was young. That I kind of eat well and try and train and try and stay as kind of young and physically able as possible. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, it's all about health. It's not about the wealth,
Yeah.
because you can have all the wealth in the world and not have health,
Mm.
and it's not a tidy situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I
definitely.
just pray to the Almighty that He gives me the strength to continue kind of being able to move and do my thing. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like when touring does start, because it will start again.
Yeah.
This pandemic is just a small thing. It's just been blown up by many people.
Mm.
But we as human beings have been through this type of thing many times, and I'm a believer that sometimes it's good to toe the line.
Yeah.
It kind of transcends religion and all this kind of stuff.
Mm.
So I just want to stay healthy,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's kind of what I do when I'm on tour. You know what I mean? Trying to rest as much as you can, as eat, not party as much as maybe I used to,
Mm.
and yeah.
For real. You know what? That's such a it's a blessing. But when you're not MCing or you're not kind of, in the studio, what else does brother culture like to do?
Um, I like to read a lot of books about religion,
Yeah.
all different religions,
Okay.
and I like to write. I'm writing some stuff at the moment
Okay.
on different subjects,
Mm.
and pretty much kind of getting to know myself as as somebody in their 50s,
Yeah.
because when you get to this age, it's like my kids are all grown ups now. My kids are all adults in their own right,
Yeah.
and um, you find that you have a lot of time just for yourself again.
Mm.
And being in the 50s, it's like it makes you reflect a lot
Mm.
about your life and what you've been through and where you're going,
Yeah.
and you get a kind of different perspective.
Mm.
So I find I'm very solitary. Like the lockdown didn't really affect me because I'm very solitary anyway. I like to be on my own,
Yeah.
and I like keeping my own company, mainly because I am a miserable git most of the time. So and I've stopped, so I've tried to really look into how you can stop conflicts, and that not just with other people but within oneself as well.
Yeah.
I believe there comes a time where my thing isn't to run out and put red, gold, and green on and try and prove how much Rasta I am. My thing
Yeah.
is to really look into Rastafari and into my life and just glean something that will be a comfort to you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think when you get into the, like, you have to remember a lot of the guys like us that were MCing in the 80s,
Yeah.
between 81 to the 90s in London, reggae MCs. We were like how the grime kids are seen now in those times. Do you know what I mean? It was like the way we were flashing the style. It was even different to the Jamaican MCs who had come before us. Because before my generation, most of the MCs in London would have been Jamaicans who've come to England.
Yeah.
And continue. But I was amongst a crop of kind of English-born MCs. And you have others like Tipper Irie, Papa Levi,
Yeah.
you know, Champion Dread. There's so many to call. You know, if I miss anybody out, it's not because I don't want to call them names.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about Bikey Dread, General Wandan from Coxon,
Wow.
Joe 90.
Yeah.
Joe 90, who said MC with General Levy on Java Sound, was a big inspiration to me. Because when I was a youth man, I went to Carnival. Can't remember what year it was. It must have been either 82 or 83. And it was like, so Coxon on one side and Java on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hear Joe 90 rolling his tongue. And he was the first MC I really saw live doing that. It was like captivating, you know?
Yeah.
So big up Joe 90 every time. He's a good friend of mine.
Wow, blessings. Wow. You know what? It's been a blessing. It feels like a history lesson of you know, there's because people put in the comments they're loving the vibes and the energy that you're bringing, and like I said, you as a person, for some reason I drew to you as an artist, I drew to you as a person. You say you're miserable, but you don't seem that miserable.
You know, just noticed on this transmission, my eyebrows are like super thick. It's really strange. I haven't noticed that before. Wow.
That's funny. It's funny.
Yeah.
You know what, Brother Culture? I kind of want to know your kind of you as a person and kind of like understand you as a person, and I feel like you've done that. I feel like you've kind of give us a little insight into you. I'm sure there's so much more. But, you know, somebody's saying Rubber Duck sound system.
Yeah. It's a new project, Rubber Duck. Actually, I think I only done one live show with an audience during the lockdown.
Okay.
After the first lockdown, that you're allowed to have like small audiences, and Rubber Duck is a good friend of mine called Max, who does a lot of work at the Hootenanny.
Okay.
And we had this idea to have like a Roots sound system MC explosion, but without the kind of seriousness that comes with a lot of the stuff on the Roots scene. So we just came up with this name called Rubber Duck. And I do some stuff, and there's those sort of things I'm really interested in. Do you know what I mean? Because it's cross-generational.
Yeah.
Because they're young guys, they're much younger than me, but they have a love for the kind of authentic, you know. And we played actually a really lovely gig at the Hootenanny together. It was really good.
Wow.
So big up Rubber Duck.
Yeah, I kept on seeing it like in the comments.
Yeah, Quentin and Max. Yeah.
For real. So you know what makes you kind of want to do all these experimental projects? I know you want to be outside the box. I know you want to do this. What gives you that kind of drive?
It's just like I don't know. It's like some things come along, and they're kind of more interesting than the kind of scene that you know, whatever. But I don't want to criticize anyone. But it's just things that are interesting, you know. Yeah. For real. I like things that challenge the mind and perceptions of things and such.
Definitely. And I think Rubber Duck's definitely going to do that, for real.
Yeah, it's a great little, I mean, it's a great thing actually, because when we played, it's like a kind of live with DJs playing tracks, but then with me emceeing live. Yeah. And then we had a brass section as well. Wow. So it was more like a kind of showcase, you know? Yeah. More like a kind of review. Okay. Yeah, almost like reggae cabaret, you know what I mean? All right. I like that. Big up from Canada.
Wow, big. Yeah.
Yeah,
Pink Foxy says she loves it. Love it.
good.
So, before, I know loads of people are waiting. I'm getting some messages coming through on my personal thing. They're saying they want a little verse from you, Brother Culture, but of course, it's up to you.
Um, yeah, it's difficult, man, because I don't know if I'm in the right kind of frame of mind.
Yeah,
Uh, I mean, I kind of feel really odd. I feel really awkward doing something like that, to be honest. You know, I mean, it's much better if they listen to records,
yeah, for real. Now I get what you're saying.
I don't
Okay,
know.
then let's try it a different way. Do you remember the first kind of verse you ever did?
Yeah, I remember the first lyrics I wrote and the first one that I MC the 12 Tribe dance.
Okay,
Yeah, I
okay,
remember it. Yeah. I'm
okay.
not going to sing it.
Maybe I have to sing it. But how does it go? Let's try it like that. How does it go?
Well, if I tell you how it goes, that means I'll sing it, it's a very basic lyrics, but it was like, I can't really do it nowadays, but I had a much different voice in those days. I'm looking for excuses.
Okay.
No, but yeah, the first kind of lyrics that people in 12 Tribe knew me for
Mm,
was a lyrics that I'd done called Destruction's Round the Corner. And actually, it's a lyrics I've never recorded.
wow.
I used to do it on the sound system.
Yeah.
And it stood out because I was the only MC in 12 Tribe that done Cockney lyrics.
Yeah.
And that was a Cockney song, and it was about the downfall of Babylon, basically. But
Mm,
and it kind of went, destruction's round the corner, don't say I never told ya. Destruction's round the corner, don't say I never told ya. My name is Brother Culture, I'm a musical entertainer. I dash up in my lyrics from the microphone center. Ronald Reagan and Maggie Thatcher, they thought they were kind of clever. I'm sure it's more than one time that they're done bad together. One's got bomb building fever and the other a happy finger. I'm sure it's more than one time that they've done bad this together. And what about Pashenko? He was the Russian leader. The troops are in Afghanistan were there upon his order. They fight against the rebels with bomb drop from helicopter. But the rebels attacked the outpost and killed enough Russian soldier. And what about Indira Gandhi, Prime Minister for India? She stormed the Golden Temple because the Sikhs was out of order. And it was kind of like that. And used to mash up.
Fireman.
Yeah, I used to mash up tour tribe dance, not only here, but in Jamaica. Because in the 80s, I went to Jamaica to do a big 12 tribe event
Yeah.
called the Khaki Dance.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing event held in the HQ in Hope Road in
Wow.
Kingston.
Yeah.
And what was amazing about it was the first time that the 12 tribes of Israel from all over the world, from all the different houses around the world,
Yeah.
had come together and kind of seen each other face to face. So there was people from England, Canada, America, Trinidad, and there was an amazing night of the 3-night show.
Yeah.
Where they called for all the MCs, and myself and an MC called Ambassador were representing London 12 Tribe, and you had people like Sister Carol representing New York.
Yeah.
And I done that lyrics, and mashed up the dance.
Yeah.
And I turned and gave the mic to Brigadier.
Wow.
And he said, "No, you keep the mic, man. Keep the mic. Mash up the place."
Yeah.
Because Brigadier Jerry is like a very close brethren to me. He's a person that I kind of see as one of my main inspirations, really, as a person and as an MC.
Yeah.
And I've had the pleasure of meeting him and doing work with him, and that was one. So yeah.
Wow. It's
You're lucky to get that, because I don't normally do that lyrics. You know what I mean?
You know what, Brother Culture? I feel blessed that you did do it, because people are putting fires on there. And I remember when I was a kid, I used to listen to Smiley Culture, when he did Cockney translation.
Yeah.
And you just reminded me of like, it just brought the energy and the vibes and the flavor. I was just like, wow. And because everyone's just bigging you up, so I'm blessed that you did do it on the show. I appreciate it.
At the time, there was a little time where you had people like Asher Senator,
Yeah.
Smiley Culture, Brother Culture,
Yeah.
and everybody had their kind of Cockney lyrics. You know what I mean?
For real.
But the difference between me and them, man, is that I was MCing for 12 tribes.
Okay.
And if you listen to the lyrics, it's like a kind of current affairs.
Yeah.
rundown of what was going on. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I used to have lyrics about the miners' strike and all kind of things. But yeah, you're right. Definitely, there was that kind of Cockney movement.
Yeah.
And I suppose the DNA of that, you can trace it in some of the, you know, the kind of white boy drum and bass. You know,
Yeah.
the kind of white boy MCs. You
Yeah.
can kind of say, oh, I can kind of see where that's coming from. Do you know what I mean? In its
For real.
DNA. And that
Wow.
was a terrible rendition of, I'm sorry to any white boy drum and bass MCs.
Nah,
They do sound a bit like that, don't they? You know what I mean?
yeah, for real. Wow.
You know what I mean, fam? You get me, fam?
Oh
Yeah.
gosh. Yes,
Come to the bed. Come
people.
to the bed. Yeah. So yeah, man, that's basically it, you know.
Wow.
And thank you so much. It's been a lovely conversation, and I give thanks that you called me to come and make the presentation, you know.
You know what?
Yeah.
You know what, Brother Culture, I have to thank you. You know, it's been a blessing. It's been an honor. You know, I've been listening to you for so long now, since I was a kid, and
Wow, you're still a kid now.
okay,
I
then,
know,
a
yeah.
younger kid, a younger kid.
No, I know what you mean, actually, because it's like a lot of people that know me from my 12 Tribe days
Yeah.
are people that don't know about the kind of new root scene. They don't even know it exists.
Wow.
Whereas I was lucky from about 99 to about 2000.
Yeah.
I started working with Manasseh, who I've known Manasseh for many years, but we've never ever worked together. And then we just met by chance one day on the King's Road. And he was doing this reggae night with Jerry Dammers.
Yeah.
A place just down the road here. It used to be called the Warrior Pub. It's now Tesco's Express. But it was called the Warrior Pub then. And Jerry Dammers and Nick Manasseh used to play there every Thursday.
Okay.
At that time, Nick Manasseh used to have an MC called MC Aishu, Daddy Aishu.
Yeah.
And for some reason, Aishu wasn't available that night. I'd met Manasseh in King's Road. And oh, he's got this thing. So I ended up going to MC there. And then that really led to a 10-year kind of journey with Manasseh.
Wow.
And I have to give thanks to him in some ways. He infuriates me in other ways, but in some ways I have to give thanks to him because it was him that kind of, because I started doing lots of gigs in Europe with him.
Yeah.
And at that time, people didn't know brother culture in France and Italy. But then the Mungo's Hi-Fi album,
Yeah.
Twilight Circus stuff with me and Michael Rose, and then the Supernova album with Manasseh kind of got me known all over Europe. And like the track on an album, the second album I made with Manasseh was called All Away.
Okay.
That's where Sound Killer and these tracks came from. And there's a track on it called, the title track is All Away. And it's basically, it names every country I'd been to.
Wow.
But at the time, but when it was released, there was a few that I went to that I didn't add on. But yeah, that's a tune about the dub family, the international family. So there are a lot of kind of younger white audiences that know me from that area rather than the 12 Tribe area. Do you know what I mean?
For real. Yeah, man, definitely.
I made 3 albums with the Prodigy, so that kind of gave me a wider kind of reach than just dub and reggae. You know what I mean?
Definitely. And you know what? Before I came and did the interview with yourself, spoke to my uncle, and he said, "Brother Culture, yeah, man." And you know, it was mad because my granddad's from Jamaica, and you know, listening to the music he used to play. He used to have a tune by yourself, Supernova. He played that tune a lot as well. So it was just like
a total eclipse or a supernova coming over, like a total eclipse or a supernova coming over. Them up stop it when brother culture step up and rapid. Man of this a man, and after that them sampling and running down the road. look out for the new version is a killer.
Definitely.
You know?
For real. You know,
it's with a singer from Slovakia called Christine.
You almost
Christine,
forgot.
not Christine. Christine, yeah.
Okay, okay. Do you know with that being said, I know coming to the last little bit of the interview for
Yeah.
now, I can't wait to when you release these new releases and we get to speak on the radio as well. And I kind of want to know what do you want to say to your listeners and your fans out there before we go?
Difficult. What can you say? Stay safe. Everybody must stay safe.
Yeah.
You know, don't listen to the hype. Because we've been through a period recently where there's a lot of things being said. You know, people at the beginning of the pandemic were saying it's because of like telephone masks and this and that. But the way I see it, I see that we as human beings are always going to be susceptible to viral attacks. You know what I mean? The thing to do with viruses and stuff, because it kind of makes us know how kind of unimportant we are. And the only important thing about us is the fact that our brain has evolved to be such a abstract thinking device, you know, and the brain is an amazing device, you know, and the mind and the way people think. And I believe thoughts have power, but I don't believe in like, I don't believe in sort of that power can be harnessed like a magician or something. You know what I mean? It's just like, if I sit down and I think, you know, I want to make an album and I think I want to make it with Little Lion.
Yeah.
I don't particularly have like an idea of what songs are going to be, but I know that that is the seed.
Yeah.
And the power of the mind, you know?
Yeah.
And I think even religion, in my belief, was developed by humankind as a form of glue for early societies. And we must get to the stage where we can kind of critically evaluate religion. So I'm not somebody that follows religion literally. You understand?
Yeah.
I tend to see great books like the Torah, the Bible, the Quran as learning manuals.
Yeah.
And their stories and almost like myths. You know, the minute people start dealing with it as if it's history, that's when the sectarianism comes in. And so really I got a clear understanding from following the teachings of the Prophet Gad of the 12 tribes of Israel.
Yeah.
You know, and it was him that taught me that one must read for themselves. You know, because a lot of people talk, you know, claim that they're representing God, but who's to know? You know what I mean? So that's definitely important to me. You know what I mean? That the people know that this pandemic is something that is going to pass, and we will get over it. You know what I mean?
For real.
But I didn't believe in like I don't believe in conspiracy theories and you know, I think that the notion of Babylon, which is a kind of Rasta notion, is different to what these New World Order conspiracists are talking about. Yeah. Because remember, the fight that we fight is not of flesh and blood. It's a spiritual fight in high and low places. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's an inborn conception of the heart. Yeah. You understand? It's like your heart goes through open heart surgery because you have to be reborn. Yeah. But you can't go back into your mother. Yeah. So it's a spiritual rebirth. It's a rebirth of the mind and the way we think. Definitely. You know what I mean? So no weapon that is formed against us can prosper. So if they were really making a telephone mast to kill people off, they wouldn't prosper. Yeah. And anybody who gets fooled by that, they're just showing their ignorance and their lack of education. You know what I mean? That is the biggest danger for all of us, is lack of education. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, it was education that brought us here, you know? For real. Yeah. Definitely. Man used to look out at the stars and think that they were gods. Now man have machine that they can send beyond the stars. Yeah. For real. So one love, one blessing, and one unity to each and every one. And I hope the spirit of truth and love guide and protect everyone. None of us are perfect, you know. For real. And I believe that within one's weaknesses, one finds their strength. Yeah. Because the minute you recognize that you're a weak, fallible person, that's when you start to become a real person. Yeah. Those that tend to talk as if they're wholly righteous tend to be the ones that will crumble. Yeah. So definitely. We just try to stay humble.
Yeah, for real.
You know.
For real. You know what, Brother Culture, thank you for your time,
Yes.
for
Give
speaking
thanks.
to me.
Thank you, Sister Kat. And I hope I'll tune in more to you now.
For
It's
real.
nice that I know you. So hopefully we can do some more work in the future.
Definitely.
Yeah?
Blessings.
All
Thank
right.
you.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you to everyone that contributed as well. You
Definitely.
didn't say anything horrible about me.
Nah, man, everyone's been saying positive stuff, bigging you up.
Not everyone.
Everyone on
I like
IG.
it like that. I like being unpopular. You know what I mean? It's good.
You're not
All
unpopular
right.
here.
Rastafari blessings.
Bless
Take care.
for
See
real.
you soon.
Speak soon.
Peace
Bless
and
up.
love.